40 meter CW on a Saturday morning. Okay, picking up CHU at 7.8 megahertz.
The new audio chain here, a couple of weeks ago,
So a few of you have been following along on the Steampunk Regenerative Receiver project. And did it work right out of the box? No, I wasn't that lucky. There was a fatal flaw. There was a component that was burned out in the set which had to be troubleshot and replaced. But once that component was replaced, it did come to life. Of course, I can critique a regen all day long, but I can tell you the amplifier came right up, the regenerative stage came right up once I changed out a burned up component, and it's alive again. And that's it's a story, so follow along in the video and see how I got this far. So in order for us to hear what the Steampunk radio is going to put out, we have to use headphones, and that's not going to be practical for a video. So I'm going to build an amplifier that takes the headphone output level and brings it up to at least the 50 or 100 milliwatts that it would take to drive a loudspeaker.
Ordered violation. Lands Turtle Boy in front of a judge again. Turtle Boy was back in court yesterday.
Okay, let me turn down Turtle Boy. This is WBZ Boston, and this is the speaker output, and it's coming through this speaker. Now, what I'm going to do is set the headphone output into a pair of headphones so that the level sounds normal into the headphones. Okay, that seems to be comfortable listening volume. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that headphone output volume and run it into this larger speaker down here. This speaker has a built-in 600 to 8 ohm transformer. Okay, can you hear that? So that is headphone volume through a 600 to 8 ohm speaker transformer coming out of the speaker. You can hear it. It's not bad. So the next thing we want to do is take that same output, and we want to take that headphone level output from the receiver, okay, the headphone level output from the receiver, into our one-tube amplifier. Now, our one-tube speaker amplifier, you can see I've gone crazy here. What I'm doing is I'm substituting different pieces of iron around the tube, and I've got 3 different tubes I'm playing with. I have a type 30 tube, I have a type 45, and I have a 71A. So I've been trying to see what would work the best on 45 volts for a B+. Now these tubes probably all have very low gain because they're 1920 style tubes, so you're not going to get a lot out of these, but maybe you'll get a little more to drive a speaker. Okay, so the Type 30 is in. We've cleaned it up a little bit.
Are you concerned about your current investments and questioning your retirement plans? Listen to Family Financial Focus with the Welch Brothers.
So it seems like it'll drive the speaker okay as long as it's got enough input. The Type 30 tube seems to be drawing about 2 milliamps, which agrees with the curves that we have on the data sheet for the tube. Fortunately, the Type 30 does have a data sheet that goes as low as 45 volts. So the only part I can see in this radio, other than a shorted transformer or choke, that could possibly degrade is that 0.05 capacitor that basically is right across the B+. So I have my capacitor meter on there, and I'm going to hit it with 200 volts and see what the leakage is. Okay, there's 200 volts, Doesn't look like there's any leakage. Let's look at the meter when I do that. Okay, we got 200 volts on there. And as soon as I hit this switch, it'll apply it. And it goes right down to 0. So that ancient looking 0.05 capacitor is absolutely fine. So I've done some basic checkout on the receiver. I came up with a terminal strip which I've labeled C plus C minus, B plus B minus, A plus A minus. And right now I've connected my variable power supply to the A battery connection. I now have put the rheostat in line. This is the control that will take a 4.5 or 5 volt source and allow you to adjust the filament voltage on the two tubes which are in series. And right now it's showing 2.3. So as I increase the rheostat, you can see I can put more and more voltage on the tubes till we get up to the requisite 4 volts. And I can see a very dull glow in the type 30 tubes, which tells me that they're lit properly. So I think we have a winner here with the rheostat. I did have to clean up the variable capacitor plates with some deoxit, and there was a little bit of resoldering done, but I haven't done anything radical to this receiver at all. The only complaint I have is the main tuning is kind of scratchy. I think that it's fine with the variable capacitor, but that'll have to be taken apart eventually, but that's something after the initial checkout that I will tackle. So I'm happy with the filament. I think the next thing we want to do is actually look at the plug-in coils and see if we can get something out of this thing. Okay, the initial results are the amplifier is working perfectly. So the entire amplifier stage, the second 30 type tube to the headphones, is working perfectly. But I'm getting no voltage to the plate of the regen stage. So I've got something between the transformer primary, which is showing the 45 volts both sides, but when I touch the plate of the tube, nothing. So it's a fairly simple thing to troubleshoot. We're going through that 50 millihenry choke and then through the tickler coil straight to the plate. So there's not a whole lot that can be wrong. It's probably just a bad connection. So hopefully not the plate choke burned up or something like that. But making good progress, no smoke. The filament supply works fine on the D cells I have here. I've got 6 volts worth of D cells, but actually they're pretty old batteries, so it turns out to be more like 5.5 volts, and the regen and the rheostat handles that perfectly and lights up the tubes beautifully. Those batteries don't even feel the little 60 milliamp draw. So let's continue and see why we're not getting any voltage on the plate of the detector. We have the 40 volts, the other side of the potentiometer, 40 volts. Then we go to the transformer. Here we are up in the transformer, 40 volts. The other side of the transformer, 40 volts. Then we go to the choke, 40 volts. And then the other side of the choke to the plate, 0 volts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an open radio frequency choke. This guy right here is open, and that's the whole reason that this receiver was probably discarded years ago. Okay, I have installed a radio frequency choke right across the open choke, and as you can see, it's a toroid, and this is just for expediency. I just wanted to get something across that choke. Now, using a toroid is probably anathema, and it's upsetting people, but you know what? I had one, and that should do the job. So I just stuck in an 80 meter coil, 80 meter phone coil. Hey, it's interfering with my net. Hey, there you go. Okay, so that proves it's regenerating now. Oh, we're making good progress now. Oh, and notice it's oscillating with 14 volts on the plate. Wow. No problem on the Type 30 with Regen, that's for sure. There is one problem with this circuit. I'm having trouble understanding why they put the regeneration control in the detector's filament. That should be a solid connection to ground. You never put something that's variable in the cathode of a Regen. So this is just wrong design here. This needs to go over to the audio amplifier side, and this needs to be solidly grounded at the detector. So every time you move the rheostat, you're going to be getting buzzing and all kinds of crazy noise. Doesn't make any sense to have this rheostat on the detector. So it's picking up the old military radio net on AM. A little bit weak. It is regenerating. There's a lot of things I don't like. The first thing I don't like is the Regen controls backwards. And it's horrible. It's going into regeneration and severe feedback, like all very, very poor Regen circuits do. Doing something like that, that should never happen. And again, I think that has to do with the problem that we have. That has to do with the problem that we have here with this rheostat in the the filament. That's got to go away, or this is not going to get fixed. So there's some cleanup to do, but you know what? This is as far as I'm going to go with this video. I wanted to prove it was working, and I think I've done that. So the receiver is now working, quote unquote, and it's horrible. Do I go any further with it? Do I try to tame it? Do I try to rewire it, or do I leave it right as it is and call it a Regen of the day? Put up with the performance that we have with this receiver. It's going into regeneration with 14 volts, so it has plenty of feedback. You know, using a potentiometer in the plate circuit is a terrible way to control regeneration. So there's several things wrong with this circuit. Do I go any further, or do I leave it as an artifact?